The woman in room 312. Rain hammered against the windows of the old motel like fists trying to get inside. Ethan Mercer tightened his grip on the steering wheel and stared through the blur of water at the flickering neon sign ahead. The Last Stop Motel. Half the letters were burned out. The red glow pulsed weakly in the storm. He should have kept driving. But his gas light had been on for nearly 30 kilometers. His phone was dead, and the highway behind him had become nothing but endless forest and blackness. The motel sat alone at the edge of the road, like it had been forgotten by the world. Ethan grabbed his backpack, pulled up his hood, and ran through the rain. The office door creaked open before he could knock. An old man stood behind the counter. Tall, thin, pale enough to look sick. "You need a room," the man said. It wasn't a question. "Yeah," Ethan replied, breathing hard, "just for the night." The old man stared at him for a moment too long. Then he slid a key across the desk. Room 314. Ethan noticed something strange immediately. There was no computer. No television. No music. The motel office felt frozen in time, like stepping into a photograph from the 1970s. "How much?" Ethan asked. The old man ignored the question. "Do not leave your room after midnight." Ethan frowned. "What?" The old man's eyes drifted slowly toward the hallway outside. "She walks after midnight." Thunder cracked overhead. Ethan gave a nervous laugh. "Right." The old man didn't laugh back. "Whatever you hear," he continued, "do not open your door." The key felt ice cold in Ethan's hand. Room 314 smelled like mold and cigarette smoke. The wallpaper peeled from the walls in long curling strips. The ceiling fan rotated with a slow clicking sound. Click, click, click. Ethan tossed his bag onto the bed and checked the time. 11:07 p.m. He plugged in his dead phone, but the charger barely worked. The screen flickered weakly before turning black again. Perfect. Outside, the storm worsened. Wind howled through the motel courtyard. Somewhere nearby, a sign banged rhythmically against metal. Bang! 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 Ethan tried distracting himself with television, but the screen showed only static. Then, for half a second, a face appeared in the snow of the screen. A woman. Pale skin. Long black hair hanging over her eyes. Then static again. Ethan sat up straighter. Okay. He blamed exhaustion. Road hypnosis. Too much caffeine. He walked into the bathroom and splashed cold water on his face. When he looked up, something stood behind him in the mirror. A woman. Tall and thin. Her hospital gown soaked dark with water. Hair hanging over her face. Ethan spun around. Nothing there. The bathroom was empty. His pulse hammered in his ears. "Get a grip," he whispered. Lightning flashed outside. For an instant, the motel courtyard lit up bright white. And Ethan saw a woman standing directly outside his window. Motionless. Watching him. Then darkness swallowed her again. Ethan stumbled backward. Nope. He rushed to the window and yanked the curtain aside. The courtyard was empty. Only rain. Only darkness. Only the flickering motel sign. He locked the window anyway. 11:58 p.m. Ethan lay awake in bed, staring at the ceiling fan. Click. 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 He couldn't stop thinking about the old man's warning. She walks after midnight. Thunder rumbled in the distance. Then the power went out. The room plunged into darkness. Ethan sat upright instantly. The only light now came from occasional lightning flashes outside. The motel seemed unnaturally quiet. No rain. No wind. Nothing. Then, footsteps. Slow footsteps outside his room. Wet footsteps. Squishy. 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 Ethan froze. The footsteps moved down the hallway outside. Slow. Dragging. As though someone was walking barefoot through water. Squishy. 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 They stopped directly outside his door. Silence. Ethan held his breath. Then came 3 soft knocks. Tap. 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 A woman's voice whispered through the wood. Please. Ethan's blood ran cold. Help me. The voice sounded weak. Broken. Like someone crying. He remembered the old man's warning. Do not open the door. Another knock. Tap. 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 I'm hurt. Ethan swallowed hard. Every instinct told him not to move. Then the woman began crying. Soft at first. Then louder. The sound was horrible. Not normal crying. It sounded wrong somehow. Wet. Gurgling. Like drowning. Ethan slowly backed away from the door. The crying stopped instantly. Silence. Then, a violent slam hit the door hard enough to shake the walls. Bang. Ethan jumped. Another slam. Bang. The doorknob rattled violently. Something scratched against the wood outside. Long fingernails scraping slowly. Screech. Then came the voice again. Only now it sounded different. Deeper. Distorted. Open the door. The lights flickered once. For a split second, Ethan saw a shadow beneath the crack of the doorway. Bare feet. Standing unnaturally still. Water slowly spreading across the carpet. The scratching grew louder. Screech. Ethan grabbed the bedside lamp like a weapon. The voice outside began laughing softly. A terrible broken laugh. Then silence again. Minutes passed. Nothing moved. Finally, Ethan forced himself closer to the peephole. Every muscle in his body screamed not to look. But he did anyway. At first he saw only darkness. Then, an eye stared back at him from the other side. Cloudy white. Unblinking. Too close. Ethan screamed and stumbled backward. The woman outside began slamming herself against the door. Bang. 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 The wood cracked near the hinges. The entire frame shook violently. And between each slam, she laughed. That awful wet choking laugh. Ethan looked around desperately. The window. He ran toward it and threw the curtains open. The courtyard below was empty. No car. No rain. No lights. The motel itself looked abandoned. Dead. As if no one had lived there for years. Then Ethan noticed something horrifying. All the room numbers had changed. His room no longer read 314. It read. His stomach dropped. He remembered passing room 312 earlier. The door had been boarded shut. Why? A voice whispered directly behind him. You shouldn't have looked. Ethan turned slowly. The woman stood inside the room now. Tall enough that her head nearly touched the ceiling. Her soaked hair dripped black water onto the carpet. Her mouth hung unnaturally wide open. And her eyes, both completely white. Ethan backed against the wall, unable to breathe. How did you get in? The woman tilted her head sharply. Bones cracked in her neck. Then she smiled. A rotten smell filled the room. You opened the door. I did. The woman pointed slowly toward the peephole. And Ethan realized, the moment he looked through it, he had let her see him. That was enough. The lights flashed. And suddenly, Ethan saw the truth. The walls were blackened with fire damage. The ceiling fan hung melted and twisted. The room itself was burned. Destroyed. A graveyard smell filled the air. Then came screams. Dozens of them. Echoing through the walls. Ethan stumbled toward the exit, but the door was gone. Only burned wood remained. The woman moved closer. Not walking. Gliding. Her feet never touching the floor. You stayed, she whispered. Her jaw stretched wider. Too wide. Skin tearing at the corners of her mouth. You're mine now. Ethan grabbed the lamp and swung it at her head. The lamp passed straight through her. The bulb exploded. Darkness swallowed the room. Then cold hands wrapped around his throat. The next morning, sunlight broke through the clouds. A truck driver pulled into the abandoned lot where the motel once stood. Only ruins remained. Burned beams. Collapsed walls. Ash-covered concrete. The motel had burned down 15 years earlier. Everyone inside had died, including a woman trapped in room 312. Police later found Ethan's car parked near the road. His backpack still inside. But Ethan Mercer was never seen again. Some locals say if you drive that highway late at night during a storm, you can still see the motel sign glowing through the trees. And if room 312 has a light on, keep driving. Because if you stop, she'll ask you to open the door.